What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes, and this is going to be my first impression and analysis of the Choose Your Legends 5 banner and the units that we have got this year. So this is a huge event in the game and everyone has been waiting for this for many months, and FEH channel finally came today and we also got to see the trailer and the stats of these units. So the first unit we have is Marth. So Marth is actually based on his ancestor Andre, and this is one of the things which I kind of expected on Marth. I was also expecting him to maybe have a Starlight Tome and be a mage this time, but he's still a sword infantry unit, and he is going to be having more BST. So we already know the stats of these units from FEH channel and the trailer, so I've put them on the side so we can see their confirmed stats. And he has got Genesis Falchion as his preferred weapon this time. So it is of course effective on dragon units, and it also accelerates his special cooldown by -1. So this makes Shining Emblem a one-turn special, which is really great. This weapon is always active in the player phase, so if he initiates combat or if he's within 2 spaces of an ally, then he can get +5 to all of his stats and also gets effects based on the total value of bonuses on the 3 allies with the highest bonus totals. And this is gonna be a global check. So that's why this weapon is going to be always active in the player phase, and that's why even Tempest does make sense on him, because he can just go out of there and attack an enemy, and if these buffs values are there on the allies, no matter wherever they are in the player phase, he's still going to be able to activate this weapon. But for activating this weapon in the enemy phase, you need to be within 2 spaces of an ally at the very least, and the other allies can be wherever on the map, because like I said, this is a global check. So if the value of the buffs is 10 or more, which is pretty much 2 tactic skills, then he gets null follow up. And that is great because he gets the best effect out of this weapon, in my opinion, the easiest. So this is really easy to get the null follow up effect. And if the buff value is 25 or more, then he can get additional +5 attack during the combat, and he also restores 5 HP per hit, which is really good for self-sufficiency. And the last effect, if the buff value is more than or equal to 60, then he can get Vantage effect. So he basically gets null follow-up, self-healing, and Vantage from this weapon depending on the buffs that the allies have. Null follow-up is the easiest to get, and in my opinion that is going to be helping him a lot more than the other effects in most of the matchups. So this weapon does have good synergy with his Shining Emblem special. Similar to Legendary Sigurd and his special, this special also has some extra things to it other than doing extra damage during the combat. So sort of turn, if Marth is within 2 spaces of an ally, then he can get +6 to all of his stats, and he also grants his allies within 2 spaces +6 attack for 1 turn. And when the special triggers, he can get extra damage based on 35% of his speed. And after combat, if the special triggered, then he can grant +6 to all of the stats of all allies for 1 turn. So this is pretty reminiscent of Fire Emblem in that part. And this special itself is quite self-sufficient for Genesis Falchion and its entire effect essentially, because you're going to be hitting buff value of 72 right when you trigger Shining Emblem and buff up all of your allies, and then he's going to be having all of his effects active. So that's why the special is quite synergetic with his weapon, and even without triggering this special, he's still going to be buffing himself up for all of his stats, so you don't really need to buff up Legendary Marth in any kind of way because he does it himself. And this special is going to be a 1-turn special with his weapon, and that's why I feel like Time Pulse is going to be the better slotsy option for him, because even Tempest is nice, but Time Pulse pre-charges your special, and that is pretty good for bypassing guard effects and things that can stop his special. He has got a new skill in Distant Pressure, and this is a tier 4 skill and it is going to be inheritable. So this gives you distant counter effect, and it also has another effect built into it. So at start of combat, if unit's HP is equal to or more than 25%, then he can get +5 speed during the combat, and after combat he takes 5 damage. So the 5 damage is basically the recall damage, and for Marth it's not the biggest deal because he can get the self-sufficiency out of his weapon if the buff value is equal to or more than 25, which I've stated before. So he can get the healing from his weapon, so kind of counteracting the recall damage in a way. But many times most of the tanks are not going to be appreciating the recall damage here, but still this can be a pretty nice option for many of the speedy tanks who like to run the damage reduction speed based skills like Spurn, Close Call and stuff like that. You can run Mystic Boost to counteract that, but still the recall damage can be annoying for some of the tanks, so you have to keep that in mind. He has also got Spurn, which is really good because he's going to be spamming his special quite a lot, and he does get +5 true damage from this, which is good. and he also gets a lot more tanky with the damage reduction. Even Tempest is pretty nice, but like I said, Time Pulse is probably a bit better in case you run into any kind of foe with guard effect. Pre-charging our special is really nice before all of the buffs and the effects, and how it can synergize with his weapon essentially. So Brave Marth is going to be having 182 BST, and that is the highest BST for an infantry melee unit, along with Legendary Corrin, who also has 182 BST. So we have got the new generation now. This is going to be Gen 6 of Fae when it comes to BST, and this allows Marth to pretty much score 185 BST in Arena. And if you do decide to plus and merge him, then Marth is going to be an insanely good unit in Arena. But for everything else, you kind of need to make sure that he can activate his weapon and make sure that the allies have got the buffs, so that even without triggering his special on the first combat, he can basically get the null follow-up effect, which is going to be really nice. In a sense, you could say that he's basically like a Gen 6 Mareeta, because he gets the extra stats, has got -1 special cooldown, and gets null follow-up from his weapon. It is conditional null follow-up, but still it is null follow-up at the end of the day, and it is going to be helping you a lot versus meta threats. And he can run damage reduction and slot B, and doesn't really need to run null follow-up there, so allows him to be basically a peak sword infantry tank. But being a sword infantry unit, you're kind of prone to getting more competition in future, as we have seen time and time again. So overall, Marth is going to be pretty solid as a sword infantry tank, the newest one that we have got. And then we have got Brave Eirika. So I really love this art. I really like her ponytail in this art, and she's a Lance Cavalier. So here are her stats. We have already seen that in this trailer as well as the Fae channel. So she's got Binding, Regan Leaf, and this gives her -1 special cooldown. It is also effective on armored units and cavalry units, which is extremely good, and does make her one of the units who can easily check and counter Fallen Edelgard because of her base kit and how she can function. So if she's above 25% HP, then she can get +5 to all of her stats, and she reduces damage from foes' first attack by 30%, and also she has got partial null follow-up, which allows her to bypass any kind of follow-up negation skills. So her partial null follow-up allows her to double even the units who have got follow-up negation and Weary Fighter and stuff like that. Brave Hector and Fallen Edelgard do come to mind, and both of them can retaliate back with Bonfire with their slot B skills. So this allows you to pretty much soak the bonfire damage and reduce the damage by 30%. And this is the way that she can basically take on Fallen Edelgard. She's got the effective damage against her. She also bypasses her follow-up negation. And if she gets hit by bonfire in the face, then the damage reduction is going to be trying to help her survive that. And she's got Luna as her special, which becomes 2 cooldown with her weapon. This is very important to keep in mind, as you'll see in a minute. So she's got a new line of skill as well in Surge Sparrow. I don't really think that this is a strict upgrade of Sir Sparrow, because it heals you up, and player phase healing a lot of times is not needed because you're trying to use something like Desperation or trying to make your unit into a Wings of Mercy beacon. So in that kind of situation, the healing that you get from Surge Sparrow is not really needed, but still can be pretty nice for self-sufficiency for these kinds of player phase units. So in the player phase, you can get +7 attack and speed during the combat with this skill, and if the unit deals damage using a special, then it can restore HP based on the total special cooldown count of the unit multiplied by 20 and added by 10, so the cap is 100. So keep in mind that the skill actually checks for the max special cooldown charge of your unit. So here, Eirika actually has Luna at 2 cooldown, so it is gonna be taking into that account and treating Luna as a 2-turn special. So I've made this simple image to explain how the healing works. Again, we're talking about the special cooldown count at max on that unit. So this will account for the slaying effect that the unit might have with something like -1 special cooldown, like Brave Eirika does. So at the very least, you're going to be able to get 30% of your max HP as your healing, and Eirika actually gets 50% healing because she's got Luna as a 2-turn special. And with Luna, Surge Sparrow basically makes it into like a mini Aether, because you have got Luna and you've also got the 50% healing from this skill when you trigger your special. At 3 cooldown, this is going to be 70%, and at max, at 5 cooldown special, this is going to be 100% healing of your max HP. So I hope this image can simplify the healing that you'll get out of Surge Sparrow. I feel like Surge Sparrow is a side raid to Swiss Sparrow. When you're running Gale Force, you don't really need this skill because you're not going to be getting any kind of healing because it is not an in-combat special, and this skill will only give you healing if you deal damage using your special. So that's why Sparrow 3 can be used on units who have got Gale Force, who want to be in the Desperation range, who want to be a Wings of Mercy beacon. But if a player face unit needs to have some kind of healing, then Surge Sparrow is the way to go. So she's got Moonlight Bangle as her preferred skill, and this is really amazing because now even the second place winners get preferred skills, which is absolutely amazing, and at the same time kind of makes me sad for Brave Claude because he didn't get Golden Deer Rule, which would have been really amazing for his slot B because he just ended up getting a double chill skill. That's pretty much it. So better late than never, and now we have got second place winners with the preferred skills as well, which definitely makes Brave Eirika really unique because Moonlight Bangle gives you Canto 2 effect. So Canto 2 is going to be giving you that extra movement after an action, and that can be pretty good to retreat. And if you're going to be running Gale Force on her, then keep in mind that Gale Force triggers before the Canto skill. This preferred skill gives you the anti-guard effect, so she's going to be triggering her specials no matter what. So guard effects of the enemies cannot stop her. Even if she's hit by the ruse effect, she can still trigger her specials, which is absolutely amazing for a unit like her. So that is really helpful because the secondary effect of this preferred skill does require to trigger your special. So the secondary effect deals damage equal to X%, and here the X is basically the max special cooldown count multiplied by 10 and added by 20. So again, I've made a simplified image to just get an idea of how you can get the damage out of this skill. So here, Eirika has got 2 cooldown specials, so that's why she can basically deal 40% of foe's defense stat. So the damage is going to be varying depending on foe's defense, of course. If you're facing something like a Frail Mage, then you don't really get too much out of this because she's already going to be doing a lot of damage. But this helps her against a lot of tanks because this allows her to get even more damage, and it can essentially become Black Luna if you run this with Luna, a special that she already comes with. So kind of taking a page out of Legendary Eirika's book in a sense. So this is how much damage she can get based on the special that she's running against foe when she triggers an in-combat damage dealing special. Which again means that if you're running Gale Force, then you're not going to be getting the extra damage out of the skill because it specifically states that you need a damage dealing special. So she can make use of Gale Force for sure with Canto, but she doesn't get the in-combat healing and she doesn't get the extra damage out of this skill. This is likely going to be true damage, but still I'm going to be waiting for the data mine. But I'm quite sure this is true damage based on foe's defense, so at the very least she does true damage based on 30% of foe's defense, which is really amazing for the extra damage output for dealing with tanks. And this kind of helps future-proof her because even if we get even more bulky units, she can still deal a lot of damage to them because of this skill, and nothing is really going to be stopping her from triggering her specials and charging up her specials. And the damage reduction that is built into her weapon allows her to survive many of the retaliations of many hard-hitting units. Her exclusive skill is basically another way of dealing with Fallen Edelgard because Fallen Edelgard has got a lot of defense and she can basically get the damage out of that and also not really care about her armored wall and the guard effect that it has got. So here's another unit given to us that can deal with Fallen Edelgard with her base kit alone, and she's got Attack Speed Menace as her slot C skill, which is going to be pretty amazing offensively. So she's got really high offenses, 40 base attack is pretty amazing, and she's got 42 base speed. Her attack is going to be high enough to make use of Heavy Blade Secret Seal because cavalry units cannot use Flashing Blade if you want to use that. But pretty much her base kit does encourage you to use some kind of damaging special so that you can get the in-combat healing and also get the extra damage from her slot B skill. So that is Eirika, a player phase focus unit and definitely one of the premier Lance Cavaliers because she has got a lot of the things which any kind of Lance Cavalier could want. She's got -1 special cooldown, she's got the partial null follow-up, she's got the damage reduction to make sure that she can survive foe's first attack, she's also got anti-guard effect, and she also deals extra damage based on foe's defense. And on top of that, she also has the Canto effect, which is going to be super nice. So I can definitely see myself using Brave Eirika a lot because I love aggressive units like these, and she's a player phase like powerhouse, and I'm definitely going to be using her in something like Aether Raids. So here we have seen her stats, and here you can see them as well on the side. So she's actually the highest BST cavalry unit right now with 173. So again, the BST change. The next unit that we have is Brave Marianne, and she's basically a pseudo dancer. She does have the dancer outfit, and a lot of people, including me, did make her into a dancer. So I actually really like this, and she's a colorless infantry mage. She's not really having Blood Gang, her relic. So she's got Phantasm Tome as her preferred weapon. This gives her +3 speed. At start of combat, if the foe is above half health, then she can inflict -6 speed and resistance debuff on the foe during the combat, and also neutralizes their visible buffs to speed and resistance. So this can be seen as a lull speed resistance essentially. And then we've got another effect of this weapon. So in the player phase, when she initiates combat, she can reduce damage from foe's first attack by 70%. So this makes Marianne deceptively bulky because 70% damage reduction is quite a lot. So this allows Marianne to just go in and attack any kind of foe and still take their hit on retaliation and double attack them. And she's going to be focusing on her speed. She also has null follow-up. So she's pretty much trying to make it so that the foe cannot make a follow-up attack. And she can make one herself because she is going to be pretty fast. And this allows her to be a lot bulkier than she initially appears to be in the player phase. She's got Requiem Dance as her exclusive skill. So she is the first place winner. She didn't have a preferred skill in her passives, but she has got that as her special. So this is pretty much what makes her into a pseudo dancer. So if she initiates combat in the player phase, then after the combat she can grant another action to an ally with the highest HP within 2 spaces of her. So this can also refresh a dancer actually, which is really great. But the catch is that after the ally has been refreshed, they basically get their movement restricted to 1 space. So they get hit by the gravity effect after Marianne refreshes them. So this special is what makes Brave Marianne a lot more unique than many of the units, because this allows her to refresh any kind of dancer, any kind of ally within 2 spaces of her. The gravity effect I feel like is kind of unnecessary. I feel like they shouldn't really have that. But the most underwhelming part of this special is that she does not do any kind of extra damage with this special. So this is a non-damaging special, which means that at times she might miss kills because of not really getting any kind of extra damage out of this. And this to me is kind of disappointing because we live in a time of Legendary Seaguard, who has got Holy Knight Aura that can give entire team +1 movement when he triggers that special, and for him it's pretty much a 1-turn Draconic Aura, which is kind of insane. Even on this banner, we've got Marth with Shining Emblem, who can also get extra effects out of his special and of course deals the in-combat damage. But Brave Marianne doesn't really deal any kind of extra damage out of the special. I feel like she should have got that, and she should not have inflicted the gravity effect on the ally that she's going to be refreshing, because again, like I said, it kind of feels a bit restrictive and unnecessary to me in this day and age where Legendary Seaguard does exist and he's not even a brave unit. So Requiem Dance is for sure going to be making her a very unique unit, but at the same time this could have been a lot better in my opinion. So this is a 3-turn cooldown special, and that's why she has got Time Pulse in her base kit, which makes it into a 2-turn special. So you need to activate this special and charge it up, which means that you need to run Flashing Blade on her to make sure that she does that in case she one-shots the enemy. So that is the most consistent way Marianne can trigger this special. There was a bit of a doubt because in the Japanese trailer they showed this special to be a 2 cooldown special, and then in the English we had 3 cooldown, and later they rectified that the error was actually in the Japanese trailer and this is actually a 3-turn cooldown special. So that is what makes Marianne into a unique unit, basically a pseudo dancer who can attack and also just refresh an ally within 2 spaces of her, regardless of them being a dancer or not. But unfortunately, you gotta take the gravity effect that she's gonna be inflicting on that ally. Her offenses are pretty good. She's got 40 base attack and 41 base speed, which is amazing for a colorless infantry mage. So she can hit definitely pretty hard and also double a lot of units, and the damage reduction is going to be making her pretty bulky in the player phase because she's got really low defense. Her resistance is decent, but the damage reduction is what saves her in the player phase essentially. So she's got Attack Speed Unity as her new slotty skill. So this can be a really nice option for many of the speedy tanks because we only had Attack Defense Unity and Attack Res Unity, so now we've got the Speed Unity part, and I know many people are going to be looking forward to Speed Resistance Unity as well, which is probably going to happen in future. So this is really nice for her because these are the main stats that she really cares about, because her bulk is kind of dependent on the damage reduction, and Attack Speed Unity allows her to also have good synergy with stuff like Wings of Mercy and being within 2 spaces of an ally. She's got Null Follow-Up in her slot B, which is going to be helping her just get rid of any kind of auto follow-up skills that the enemy might have. but this might be replaced with Wings of Mercy in many cases if you're trying to use Gale Force or an aggressive strategy with a Wings of Mercy beacon. Time Pulse is going to be her Slotsy skill, and this is super important to make sure that she can trigger her special and refresh an ally. I really like the fact that she summons Maurice with her tome animation. I think that is extremely cool. I love this tome animation. It's no secret that I'm a Marianne fan, so maybe I'm kind of biased, but even objectively looking at this, the special could have been better, again, because doing any kind of extra damage would have been pretty nice, because nowadays units are just so bulky with damage reduction and stuff like that, and their higher bulk of course, that the extra damage could have helped in securing KOs, and basically one round KOing a lot of units. So that is Brave Marianne. Time will tell how she'll age. But having played this game for such a long time, I can definitely tell you that any kind of unit with support capability that can make them stand out and make them unique usually ages up to be pretty decent, and they will still have some kind of use. So I can definitely see myself using Brave Marianne in something like a Gale Force composition, which can allow me to make use of this dance skill, and she herself is going to be hitting pretty hard because of her offenses. So again, time will tell how Brave Marianne will age. And here she can refresh this Brave Lysithea, and we see that gravity effect on this poor Lysithea. She can only move one space now. The final unit that we have on this banner is going to be Brave Gatekeeper. Literally no one saw this coming, to him being infantry green mage. Everyone was expecting Lance infantry unit, and I really like this fact because it makes him unique and it subverts our expectations in a sense. He's got Charging Horn as his preferred weapon that can give him +3 defense, and this can give +5 attack and speed to allies within 3 rows and 3 columns centered on Gatekeeper during the combat. So this is pretty much an offensive support for those allies, and the range of this weapon is huge. They did show that in the FEH channel, and the range is just huge, so this weapon might as well be always active, and this also gives him some in-combat debuffs too. So the secondary effect of this weapon does allow him to get attack and resistance debuff on foe during the combat, depending on the allies within 3 rows or 3 columns centered on Gatekeeper again. And if there are 3 or more allies in that range, then he can stop the enemy's follow-up attack. He also counts any kind of breakable structure as an ally, so that makes him pretty amazing in Arena and Arena Assault, because a lot of the maps have these breakable structures, and that also makes him really good in Aether Raids defense, because outside of your fort, every structure is breakable. Even on Aether Raids offense, when you're going to be using him, a lot of you might not know, but if the enemy actually charges down, they can actually break your offensive structures that are not named Escape Ladder and also Fort. So those are also technically breakable structures by the foe. So this makes it pretty consistent with his huge range, and like I said before, this might as well be active all the time. So Gatekeeper's stats are pretty min-maxed overall. He's got low speed, he's got good attack, he's got high defense for a mage, and he's also got good resistance. So again, he's basically like a tank, and the fact that he can stop the enemy's follow-up attacks is really good defensively, but the problem is that his speed is really low. So for example, someone like Duolith attacks him, he's still going to be able to double attack Gatekeeper because of his auto follow-up and the fact that he's going to be faster than Gatekeeper. So if you're 5 points faster than Gatekeeper, and if you've got an auto follow-up skill, you can still attack him twice. So the follow-up negation can only take you so far when your speed is kind of low, but still this can help him defensively. So this weapon is pretty nice for supporting his allies as well as supporting himself as a tank. He's got Harsh Command Plus, and then he's got Close Reversal. This is definitely better than Close Counter, but in many situations when you're not facing a dragon, Close Foil is going to be better because it provides you with the same +5 defense, but also gives you +5 attack. So Close Foil is going to be useful when you're not going to be facing dragons, but in any kind of other scenario, this is going to be better than Close Counter. So he can retaliate back to melee range units and also get even more defense, which makes him really stocky. And finally, Gatekeeper has got something to report to us, and it is going to be a detailed report as a slot B skill. So this is basically a super obstruct in a sense. So if you're a melee range unit, you cannot move through spaces adjacent to Gatekeeper. If you're a range unit, then you cannot move through spaces within 2 spaces of Gatekeeper. And he also disables warping skills. So foes cannot warp into spaces within 4 spaces of Gatekeeper. This means that Wings of Mercy, Ground Orders, Aerobatics, Flyer Formation, all of these movement shenanigans skills can get disabled within 4 spaces of Gatekeeper, and this is a huge thing, and I feel like Gatekeeper is the unit who's gonna be a lot more meta influential in a sense compared to a lot of the other Choose Your Legends units, because we never had anything like this before which can stop the warping of the other units. And time again we have seen units like Bright Katria, we've got newer Peony, we've got Peony in general who can provide Orders buff, and all of those units which can give these movement shenanigan skills to their allies, and Detailed Report is basically your way of countering them. So I can see this being extremely useful in any kind of game mode, honestly, because you can stop Wings of Mercy foes from teleporting, and that can be useful in Arena Assault, because dancers are pretty common there. And in Aether Raids offense, this can stop Ground Otter's teleportation as well, and Wings of Mercy can especially be pretty annoying there too. So if you're against someone like Bright Katria, it's a lot easier for you to tank the opponents because they cannot warp, and it's a bit easier for you to predict their movement. So Detailed Report is extremely good in that regard. And in Aether Raids defense, this is also going to be disrupting any kind of Wings of Mercy, shenanigans, like with Gale Force, with Ninja Lin, with Dancers, stuff like that. So Gatekeeper, if he's kept safe with something like far save and near save armor units, then he can actually be a pretty annoying thing for many of the aggressive teams who will try to Gale Force you or will just try to overwhelm you with Ninja Lin and multiple Dancers, because he will just stop any kind of teleportation. So yeah, Detailed Report is absolutely unique thing which can stop teleportations, a super obstruct in a sense, and we never really saw anything like this before, which can stop the teleportation skills, because at times they are really annoying, especially on Dancers and stuff like that. So Gatekeeper overall ends up being a pretty nice support unit, providing you those offensive buffs and also stopping these teleportation skills. And then finally we've got Joint Drive defense. So here he's gonna be taking out this blue mage, and he literally summons Garrick Mark Monastery. Oh my god. What kind of Foldland magic is this? Are we sure he's not using some Agarthan technology or something like that? So he has got Sylvain here, normal version of Sylvain. We haven't really seen him before. We have Summer Sylvain, and then he triggers his special again in the Fae channel, and he actually does summon Rhea, Cyril, and also Lorenz, which we haven't really seen before as the normal version in Fae. So really amazing animation. I could not believe what I was seeing when I saw this for the first time. Like literally opening the gates of Monastery and all of these units just charge and beat the opponent down. It's just amazing. So they definitely were really creative this time around. Like you couldn't really predict Marianne to be a colorless infantry unit. You cannot really predict Gatekeeper being Eirika was a bit predictable being a lance unit because she has got that connection to Ephraim, but being an outfit of Ephraim himself, I didn't really expect that. Marth is probably the most predictable one because Andre, his ancestor, was, something that many people expected, including me if you go back and watch my video. But still, I really like the creative approach they took this time around, especially with the classes and the outfits. So I'm really excited for Choose Your Legends 5, which is going to be coming out tomorrow. We also see the Celestial Stone, so you can spark up to 4 times actually on this banner. And if you summon on each stone, then you can pretty much spark all of them in 615 orbs. So that is the maths if you are trying to get every single Choose Your Legends 5 unit. And if you don't really get them, then you can guarantee get them with the sparking. We are also going to be getting Pelleas as our Grand Hero Battle unit day after tomorrow. So he appears to be a red mage, and unfortunately he might not have a preferred weapon. He appears to have some kind of inheritable red tone that has got the icon of a lion. And in Fae, lion is usually associated with fury, recall damage and stuff like that. So I think this might be a fury tome, inheritable fury tome, kind of similar to spooky sensor and stuff like that, which we have seen on Halloween units. So I think this is probably going to be an inheritable tome, which is a bit disappointing to me because George last year got a made up preferred weapon, and here frickin' Pelleas doesn't get a preferred weapon potentially. So I really hope I'm wrong and this is a preferred weapon and this is not inheritable, but I think most people, including me, kind of know that this is inheritable weapon because of the weapon sprite that we can see on him. So unfortunately, he might be a red mage, but I don't think he's going to be too slow because as you can see by his stats, his speed is not that bad. So I hope that he's offensive at the very least. So if he ends up being pretty good offensively and has got the updated stat spread because of the BST increase, then he can be a pretty nice offensive mage, but having a preferred weapon would have definitely helped him. And Pelleas, I feel like he definitely deserved a preferred weapon. at the very least. We also have the Dragonflowers change, and now it pretty much takes you 2060 Dragonflowers to go from 0 to 20 on Gen 1 and Gen 2 units. So I really wish they gave us more Dragonflowers, kind of like how they give us feathers in abundance, because having more Dragonflowers allows us to update our old units, and there's just so many old units that many of us like to use, but we pretty much have to select only a few of them that we can commit our Dragonflowers to. So this is pretty much a banded way of tackling power creep by giving extra stats to the old units, which definitely helps to a certain degree, but stats can only go so far when these new units have such good preferred weapons which can give them so many extra effects. So I really wish Dragonflowers were a lot easier to obtain. So this is pretty much the start of new gen for BST in FE, and we're soon going to be seeing 190 BST armor units. Will be pretty interesting to see who's going to be the first one. So let me know in the comments who's your favorite Choose Your Legends 5 unit, and make sure to share this video with your friends if they need any kind of explanation of the skills and units, because I did go in depth and explain them. And if you enjoyed, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And you can support me directly by becoming a member or by giving super thanks. It's completely optional, and I want to thank all of my 2 members for their constant support. If you enjoyed, then please be sure to leave a like and a comment. Helps me tremendously, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as the movement of an ally who got refreshed by Marianne. So that's it, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.